Welcome to Coffee and Tea and OC, where we sip coffee and spill the tea. On my first episode, I have my dear friend Lyndi Kennedy on the show. We talk about everything from her leaving the Mormon Church and becoming a Christian, from leaving a narcissistic relationship and healing herself mentally, physically, and emotionally, becoming a health coach to help other women and men that may be in similar situations. She's a fashion and lifestyle blogger and entrepreneur. She's an Instagram influencer and a skincare entrepreneur. Lyndi Kennedy, welcome to the show. Hi, Lyndi. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here with you on your first podcast.
I know. Thank you for popping my podcast cherry. So we're going to get right into the beginning.
Okay.
Take us back to your childhood and how you grew up.
I'm from Orange County, but we moved when I was 7. So really most of my memories, my parents were from LA. And when they got married, my mom was 19 and my dad was 22. So they were very young.
Wow.
Got married. We moved from LA down to Orange County because my dad got a job down here. Mm-hmm. But then when I was 7, we moved to Oceanside, and then when I was 9, we moved to Temecula. So I really consider myself growing up in Temecula. That's most of what I remember. And it was
wine country.
So what people consider the wine country,
Yeah.
That's where I grew up. But I didn't even really understand that when I was younger because I was raised Mormon, and it was a very strict, very, very rigid, strict upbringing in the Mormon religion. And so I didn't even really understand wine or wine country, orchards, any of that. But I would ride my horses through these like avocado groves and wine vineyards. And it was a really like just barefoot and very simple way of growing up, like a lot of dirt roads. And I had to skip school sometimes because our dirt road, when the rain, we couldn't get up the dirt hill out of the house.
That sounds so perfect. That sounds like a perfect life.
So that part of it I loved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'd go out, we were only a half hour from the beach, so then we kind of did the beach thing a lot too. My dad was a surfer, we loved the beach. So we'd go down to like Carlsbad and Oceanside and San Diego, even Newport Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because it's all, 30 minutes to an hour away. So it was kind of got the best of both worlds. I really loved that.
Yeah, yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you know how to ride horses.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I
didn't know that.
do it much anymore because, it's kind of, I don't have horses anymore.
Yeah.
But that would be a dream of mine to go have horses again.
Yeah. So how did you get started with Instagram? You have a huge following. And I know you're a blogger before.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah. So, talk about that.
So when Instagram was first a thing, you couldn't monetize it, but so you would actually have to have a blog. Well, and going back before that, I was married and I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years because my ex-husband was a professional athlete and he was never home. So it didn't make sense for me to really work. I needed to be home. Someone needed to be home with the kids consistently, and so. Yeah. Most Major League Baseball wives don't, work. It's, so I was a stay-at-home mom for 13 years, and when we were getting divorced,
that was nice.
He wasn't very, we get along great now, and I'm very grateful for our relationship now. Mm-hmm. But going back then, he was like, well, you're going to get nothing if you leave. And I said, yes, I will. I get my dignity back. So, so I didn't care about money. I said, that's fine. I'll go make my own.
Yeah.
But, it's harder than I thought after being home for 13 years and having 3 kids.
Wow.
I had a toddler, an adolescent, and a teenager. And he was not really present a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
He wasn't around much. So I would say 80% or so was on me.
Yeah.
And even when he was supposed to watch them, he'd flake on me. It was a long time ago. And I never want to put him down too much because he's the father of my children and we're good now. But back in this time, it was pretty rough. So I thought, what can I do? I really wanted to go back to school. But I was like, okay, I've got 3 kids I got to take care of. And what can I do? What skill set do I have that I can utilize without having to go back to school, go get my credentials? So I said, you know what I know? I know fashion. I know style. And I know how to shop. So I started a business as a personal stylist. And you couldn't really monetize Instagram, but I started a blog and an Instagram page to kind of promote my business as a personal stylist.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And a creative outlet. It was fun. You know,
yeah.
I'd kind of been my ex-husband's shadow, if you will, for 13, 14 years.
Okay.
You know, in his dreams and, you know, what he was excited about. And so I raised the kids, and then I thought, well, I love fashion, so I'm going to start a fashion blog.
Yeah.
And then I'll use the styling business. I'll do personal shopping. I'll go through people's closets. I pack for people for trips. I did all that. And that's kind of how I started a little business.
You had actual clients that paid you to style them and stuff. That's
cool. I don't really do it anymore because I actually was able to monetize once Instagram started to be monetizable. I actually monetized that to where it just didn't make as much. I made less money working for people than I did focusing on Instagram. It was really innovative, but an influencer named Amber Ven's Box, her husband was an IT guy, and they came up with Reward Style, like to know it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so back in the day, I mean, this is like 8-9 years ago. I've been doing it for 10 years. She came up with this really innovative way to monetize Instagram, and it was back then, if someone signed up for Reward Style, if they just tapped the like button on my picture, I used to post outfit pics a few times a week, and back then it was just different. Get 5,000 likes, and I'd wake up to like 400 new followers a day. It was just so different back then.
Yeah.
And then if they signed up for Reward Style, they'd like my photo and they'd get an email with a link to my outfit on it. And I supported a family of 4, basically from
that,
just outfit pics alone on Instagram.
Wow.
But then
really
it changed.
has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's changed drastically.
So now, all of a sudden, you're in the public eye.
Yeah, so that wasn't really what I expected. I wanted to shop for people, do fashion, and then I started making money on outfits.
Yeah.
I guess I did put myself out there, but really putting all my personal stuff out there wasn't really what I had intended to do like I do now.
Yeah.
So.
Did you get, like, personal comment, like, people asking, like...
But it was more like questions? I would do a photo. Okay, so this is how Instagram used to be, and it's changed so much. I used to, like, take a photographer, and most bloggers did this, and change in the car. I'd go to, like, you know, the village at Lido, or a city street somewhere, or even up to LA or something, in Orange County down by the beach or something. And I'd go to PCH, and I would change 4 times in my car and have a photographer wait for me and shoot different outfit looks. And then I'd use that content over the next 2 weeks. Post on my blog, post on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it was... and that was all it was. And it was a glossy, pretty photo of your hair and makeup are cute. You're wearing a bathing suit on the beach or a pretty dress walking down PCH. And, you know, people are driving by and I would get text messages like, I just saw you on a photo shoot. Because you know, it was kind of fun. Yeah. And that was much simpler. Once Snapchat came out with stories, I never got into Snapchat. I always felt like I was too old for Snapchat. But it kind of changed the game because then Instagram started stories. And it changed everything. That's when people started sharing their lives, you know, what they're doing with their kids that day, what they're cooking in the kitchen, or the appointments they're going to, things like that. And it completely changed, and people started to share a little bit more about what's behind the pretty picture. Yeah. And that changed things, and people started they were drawn to it a little because they were like, oh, these are real people. Yeah. So that changed it a lot, and so I started sharing more and more, and then I went through hell and back, and I started to share that story on Instagram, and it really made a big pivot in my Instagramming career, if you will. Yeah.
So what was the hell and back? What did you go through?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't mean to put myself in the public eye. In fact, going through a really awful divorce, I felt in the public eye a little because my ex-husband being somewhat of like a local celebrity, I felt like everyone in town knew that he was cheating on me, and people were talking about it, and I'd get phone calls and say someone saw him there with this girl, and it was really heartbreaking, and it damaged my self-esteem in such a big way, and
and you know these people, and
in fact, when I started blogging, a funny story is we used to go by a blog name, so mine was Lyndi in the City. And it was a little, I thought, you know, cute. I was going out to New York City and going to Fashion Week and things like that. And so and it rhymed, you know. And I used to like the show Sex and the City, but as I walked my Christian walk, I'm but that was my name, was Lyndi in the City. And most bloggers had a catchy little cute phrase name.
Yeah.
It wasn't their name. So a lot of people didn't even know my last name was Kennedy. They just thought my name was Lyndi in the City. People literally would call me, it's Lyndi in the City. Yeah, it was funny. And so when I was first blogging, a really good friend of mine, but she knew who I was and my last name and my ex-husband. But we met up with this other blogger to go up to an event in LA. And in the car, she was like, oh, yeah, I used to be a bottle service girl. And, those athletes, as long as you weren't married to, Adam Kennedy. And my blogger friend grabs my arm and she's like, her eyes got big and she looks at me.
And
I'm
that's
like,
your husband?
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
like, it's okay. I'm used to it. Of course, it felt like I got
gosh.
punched in the gut a little bit, but I had kind of come out of that already. So, yeah, it still hurt. But I kind of didn't want to be in the public eye. I thought I could just post some pretty pictures and, yeah, the stories thing, and people started getting a little more open and vulnerable on Instagram. Now we share reels, really unfiltered.
Yeah.
It's becoming so much more popular, and I think it's because the authenticity and relatable part about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
So-
you really show how it is.
Yeah, and then I
Instead of
just
the
started
filtered, super filtered,
showing and talking about the hell, like I said, and I don't know. I felt God kind of called me to do a lot of that, so it's a big part of my testimony. So.
Have you always wanted a career in fashion? Have you always wanted to be like a stylist, an Instagram blogger, an influencer?
No. Yes and no. When I was little, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer at SeaWorld.
I love that. That's cute.
Yeah. And then I always had a heart for being some kind of child psychologist or therapy because I actually went through a lot in childhood and I knew someday I just wanted to help people.
Yeah.
But then I got recruited for modeling and acting. So then as a teenager, I got really into that and kept trying to pursue that and thought, that'd be a really fun career. And then I like the fashion aspect of being in the modeling and acting world. So, so I definitely dipped my toe in that multiple times from the age of 4 all the way till 34. So,
wow.
yeah, but going out to LA, and there's a lot of darkness there and a lot of being raised Mormon and believing the Mormon Church was true until about 6 years ago. It's not a place for somebody. It's really difficult to break into that world if you're a faith-based person, because
into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, especially maybe because of my look too. I wasn't usually taken as the serious, actor that gets a little gritty and all those kinds of things. I typically got put in the roles where they were like, no, you're the girl in the lingerie or the bikini and the one doing this scene that I was like, if my dad saw this, I would literally crawl under a rock. So it was a pretty tough place to break into if you have some values.
Yeah. So back to religion. You recently left the Mormon religion.
Yeah.
And you're now a Christian.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Sure. It's hard. It's a little bit of a tough topic because my family is still practicing Mormons, and I love them dearly. They're my family, right? So, but I believed it was true up until about 6 years ago, and I wore the undergarments, and I went to the temple and did those ceremonies, and I,
What are the undergarments?
So they are a kind of like the material you're wearing on your shirt a little bit, but they are like a little capped sleeve, tight under clothes and bottoms too, kind of like the length of like a biker short.
Okay.
And you wear those underneath all of your clothing, and
you do.
It's just one of the rules that Joseph Smith put into play, and it's kind of like wearing a mask for COVID. You're easily controlled when you have a lot of requirements and rules to follow, and there's an outward image of what the rules are. So as a Christian, only God knows our heart, right?
Yeah.
And we can display that in our actions daily. You can kind of see where someone's heart is by the way they behave, if you see the fruits of the Spirit in them. But I mean, as far as that goes, you could still be tatted and pierced and, you never know, a guy on a Harley Davidson, right? But he's just got a pure heart for Jesus Christ. Right. But as a Mormon, the way you dress and the way you look and the way it's a culture, not just a religion. So, yeah. So when did you start to realize that this wasn't the right
religion?
Yeah, so basically, I got heavily involved into the fight against human trafficking. And I got really involved with some organizations and doing a lot of work even on my own and working with some people that were doing the work and helping out with cases. And then people would even send me cases on Instagram and say, hey, can you help with this? And it became something I was really passionate about.
Okay.
And what that leads to once you get into some things on the dark web and involved in some of these things, it's, you think that a kid gets kidnapped. I mean, this does happen, by the way, but a kid gets kidnapped at the mall, right? And then they get forced into some of this child trafficking. But a lot of times it's within families.
Really?
Yeah, and they do this to their own children. And a lot of times they're bloodline families that are affiliated with a lot of Freemasonry and things like that. And I started to see some of the rituals that they were doing. And because of that, I began my study on the occult and Freemasonry. I'm somebody that once I want to know something, I get interested. My curiosity gets piqued, I'm in. So I roll up my sleeves and I dig, and I wanted to know the truth. So I got to really understand and read books and watch things and understand the occult practices of Freemasonry. And when I did that, I was a little stunned by the similarities of what I was practicing in the Mormon temple. I thought, this is bizarre. We are doing the exact same things. And I'm studying people that are doing blood sacrifices and, and using children in rituals.
Wow.
And these practices that I know because I study what the occult practices and what they believe. And they believe that, definitely they worship Lucifer, but then they also believe after that we all become our own gods. And that's teachings that the Mormon Church teaches also.
Really? Okay.
So I saw all of this and I thought, this is not right. And I started researching the origins of the church too. So I went down and I studied all of Joseph Smith's background and his childhood and his father and him and what they were practicing. And they were on trial for scamming people for treasure digging. And then, all the stories that I had been taught growing up about how he found these plates and then no one else could see them. And then they were written in Reformed Egyptian and how that language doesn't even exist. There's no such language. And that the stories that he had told and the scriptures that he's writing, he just named them all after the cities around him and comic books that he was reading. He put all these names. That's where he got the names of the cities, the lakes, the people, the characters in this book that he had written. And then he put stones into a hat and put his face in the hat, and that's how he was getting this information for these books. And I started to study with the occult. I started to study kind of a lot of like spirituality and the darker side. So there's two spirits on this earth, and it's the Holy Spirit and there's an unholy, an antichrist spirit. So Satan has power here too, what God allows. So basically, when you're practicing these New Age practices of divination, sorcery, and witchcraft, you are operating under an unholy spirit, and that's Satan. And he led Joseph Smith, I believe, to create this false religion to bring people away from the truth, just like all man-made religions.
Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Interesting. So I'm taking it your family did not.
No, I've tried talking to them. I've tried talking to my sisters and my mom, and they've all told me they don't want to talk about it. So respectfully, we don't have those conversations anymore. But I've planted seeds, and I pray for them. I know they're praying for me because they think that I have gone the wrong direction, and of course, I believe they have.
Yeah.
And I peeled back all the layers of all my beliefs that I had all my life, and I started reading the Bible like a child, like with a new set of eyes, with all the scales peeled off. And it's just a beautiful book, and it's become my favorite book, and I love it. And the Lord has shown me as I read it so many places in the Bible that absolutely show that the Mormon Church contradicts, what Jesus taught, the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, but of course we're told there's usually little ways out that they'll say, oh, well, this is that. But no. And you ask for discernment and test every spirit, and he'll show you. So, yeah. I know that it's absolutely not true. And then, when I first left 6 years ago and I saw that it wasn't true, I just kind of said, I don't know what to believe now. If I could be that fooled, then I don't believe anything. Yeah. So for a little while there, I just didn't believe in anything, and I just kind of had fun. I went out drinking, dated different boys, fell into a relationship with somebody that was very unique and different from what I, would have probably gone out with before.
Yeah.
And I just was in this kind of YOLO phase because I was kind of mad, I think. I was a little angry that I had been deceived like that. And, there was so much abuse in my childhood too. And that was definitely crossed over with the church and my family. So, I was a little like, I don't want anything to do with any of this.
Mm-hmm.
But then fast forward, and I was in a very dark place. This is a little over 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a very unhealthy relationship that was really toxic and abusive. And I became very sick, 15 illnesses, and my dad died. Mm-hmm. And I felt in complete despair and didn't even want to live anymore.
So how did you start to navigate your way to Christianity?
This is exactly how.
This is
yeah.
it. Okay.
I got on my knees and I said, okay, you're not the Mormon God, but who are you? Mm-hmm. Like, are you the Seventh-day Adventist God? Are you the Jehovah's Witness God? Are you Catholic? Are you Christian? I'm ready. Like, I need you. Mm-hmm. I'm at the rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then I found, the rock at the bottom, I like to say. So I said, I'm ready to step into the woman that you created me to be. Mm-hmm. I'm ready for a relationship with you. I'm ready to turn my life over to you, but I don't know who you are. Mm-hmm. So will you show me? Mm-hmm. And ever since then, he's shown me. And I always say, like, he didn't carry me over the fire. He made me walk through it. Mm-hmm. He didn't take me around it. Mm-hmm. He didn't take me over it. He made me walk through it. Mm-hmm. But he held my hand every step of the way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And now you lead a Bible study group.
Yeah.
And how many members now?
There's 70 girls in it. Yeah, there's like 70.
Getting quite big.
Yeah, they're not all always there, of course. It's on Zoom, so. Yeah. But yeah, there's a group of like 70 girls that aren't always there, but it's really given me just this huge purpose, and it forces me to study the Bible every week to another level because
you're leading now.
Where much is given, much is required. So I think, okay, I would never want, especially after I believed false teachings. Yeah, I certainly cannot go teach false teachings now. So I'm very diligent, and I take a lot of time to study each lesson for the week and make sure that I pray over it, make sure that I'm teaching everything that's truthful.
Yeah.
And what it's done is it's just increased my knowledge of the gospel and helped me grow closer to Jesus. And then I get to minister to other women and be a disciple of his. And then they go and disciple. They'll say, I went and told my husband what we learned, or my children. And it's just, honestly, it doesn't get much better than that. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
And you're in there. You show sometimes.
I try my best. I'm working and I'm busy, and then I'm like, the group. I sometimes I listen and I can't. Really
It's hard.
It's hard.
There's plenty of girls that'll say, I'm sorry I can't come, but you know what? We're all there whenever I do it every week, and
I'm there in spirit.
Yeah. So.
Let's go back to the relationship.
Okay.
The toxic relationship. And I remember we were talking before, and you said he had narcissistic qualities.
Yeah.
I want you to, like, say someone is out there dating. They're not happy. They're having issues. How would you define a narcissist? Like, how do you know that you're in a relationship with a narcissist? How would you, like, what are the qualities or behaviors that you would look out for to know that that's the person you're dealing with?
Yeah, so definitely I have now become a wellness coach, a life and health coach, a dating coach, and a trauma-informed.
You gotta go through it yourself first, and then.
So, and I feel that, that's how God kind of gives us a crown of beauty for ashes, is He lets us use our pain for purpose and our test for a testimony, and our weakness to become our witness. So I kind of had a weakness for boys, bad boys, but he was the worst. No, he has good qualities too, and I always want to remember that because there's good there too. I did love him, and he does have good qualities. And I noticed a pattern for myself. So the 3 big relationships I've been in my adult life have all really been a very similar blueprint, and they felt like home, because home for me came from a very narcissistic, abusive home. And so, my parents were very emotionally unavailable, and I walked on eggshells. I was hypervigilant because I never knew if they were going to be explosive, and they were disconnected completely. So I felt like I raised myself. I ran away at 15, and I haven't lived at home since then. So, well, that's not true. When the first husband died, I did live at home again with my parents, and they were there for me for that. So, but, okay, so back to your question, I will say.
Your first husband died.
I thought you knew that.
I feel like I've heard that before.
But can we 2 hours?
Do we need to talk about this? I feel like we need to talk about this.
Like, I need to write a book or something. That's why I started a podcast. I'm like, I need to help people, because how can I use this to help people? Because my life's just been a big mess, you know. God bless this mess.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, so I came back from school in Utah, and I married a man who was Mormon, but he was an addict, and I didn't know that. Growing up in such a sheltered environment, I was very naive, and just, I fell for the first guy that wanted to marry me, and I said okay, and I was married and pregnant about 3 months, and I woke up next to him, and his deceased body in bed next to me. So that was... up. Yeah. So,
like he was dead next to you.
Yeah. And
how
haunted me for like a long time.
Why did he die?
He died from opiate poisoning.
Okay.
Yeah. And he convinced me that it was his migraines that he just needed all this medicine for.
Okay.
But the amount of opiates in his blood and system to kill him like that, that's not for migraines.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Trauma. Like.
So, yeah. So statistically, I should not have made it to my 40th birthday with the amount of trauma in my life. So statistically, with the amount of trauma that I've had in my life between him dying and, abusive relationships and my childhood, and I was assaulted at 16, followed, stalked, and assaulted. And basically, by the age of 40, I should have died from an overdose myself, suicide, or abuse. Like... someone like me should never have made it. So I'm here because of the grace of God.
I am very happy you're here.
Thank you. Yeah.
So do your kids, all kids are with this person that is passed away?
Just the first one. So my oldest son, I was 3 months pregnant with him when the first one died.
Oh, so he doesn't know him.
He never got to meet him. And that was always something that I struggled with because I just didn't want him to have to grow up in this. But there was nothing I could do. So I met my ex-husband when he was only 18 months old. And I was living in Temecula, and I moved out here to Newport with him. And basically, that's all he remembers, because my ex-husband has known him since he was 18 months old. And I thought, okay, God gave me a baseball player husband, a beautiful life. We're going to go I'm pregnant. I'm having another baby. He's going to have a brother. And we're going to have this family now. Like, he replaced what, I lost and the trauma that I'd been through. And I thought I was having my happily ever after. So, but yeah, that ended up, he had a lot of affairs and was very, emotionally unavailable. And just, there was a lot of gaslighting there too. And so we ended up, do you
think that's typical of sports?
So everyone told me, Lyndi, don't date an athlete. They're all cheaters. They're horrible. They're the worst. And in typical Lyndi fashion, I thought, well, it's not going to be like that with me. So I thought, very positive outlook, glass half full, I guess. But sometimes you need, positive thinking is great. But I think more importantly, it's accurate thinking is what we should have. A positive spin on accurate thinking. And I thought, no, that won't happen with me, but it did. And I do think athletes are, it's very prevalent in that, because people just, it's so easy. The temptation, they don't have to go seek out to a bar and try and hit on a girl. Girls just throw themselves. They make it so easy. Yeah. So you have to take a pretty strong man to withstand all that temptation and say, no, I'm married, I'm in a committed relationship, and I won't do that, because it's just so easy. And there are very good, loyal men in sports. So I never paint them all with the same brush.
Right.
But do I think it's more prevalent in
Not
athletes?
To
yes.
Crap on all the athletes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
So back to the narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
How did you start to?
Okay, so you were saying like how
Yeah.
what do you start to see in the
Yeah, like
signs,
how do,
right?
like if I'm dating a guy, if I'm not married, whatever, I'm dating a
Mm-hmm.
guy. How do I know if he's a narcissist?
Tell him a story. Tell him
Okay.
something meaningful about your life. Tell
Okay.
him something that has been devastating or that's brought you grief or sadness or pain that you've struggled with. And watch the reaction. Look at their face.
Okay. And
Do you
what
see
would you?
warmth from their body language, in their eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it? Like, can you tell that they have sympathy, compassion, empathy?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they switch the subject to themselves?
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
That's how
so
you
they
know.
would then,
Yeah.
if a true narcissist would
Yeah.
start talking about themselves.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They'll make it about them, and they just lack the ability to, they completely lack the ability to put themselves in someone else's shoes.
Shoes.
It is foreign to them. It is something they cannot do.
Interesting. So
yeah,
like
they'll never-
apathy.
They cannot.
They can't.
They cannot. It's not in their toolbox.
Interesting.
Mm-mm.
But they fall in love. And
Do
they
they,
feel
though?
some type of way towards a person, don't they? Don't
They
you
have
think?
infatuation. They have obsession.
Okay.
But they don't truly love because they don't love themselves.
Oh.
The ability you have to love other people is directly linear with the ability you have to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't. It's a very shame-based personality disorder. So they can't look at themselves. They can't reflect. They don't really. They have a mask on because they refuse to look at that because they can't feel shame. It's too painful for them.
Interesting.
And sadly, it comes from trauma themselves.
From childhood, you think?
Yeah,
Or
it comes
how
from
they're-
trauma.
Mhm.
It comes from, it's a very it definitely comes from a childhood where the parents are either overindulging them or completely underindulging them.
Mhm.
So they completely lack everything they need in childhood, or they're overindulging this child, and it comes from one or the other.
Mhm.
And then this child takes on an aggressive fight survival mode, whereas the codependent and the narcissist go together like a hand and glove because their pathologies are really the same at the core.
So do you like love bombing?
Yes. So you think they love you, and they think they do too, but it's love bombing because it's all manipulation.
Okay.
There's always a strategy, a goal.
Are
Right?
they aware that they're doing that?
Yes and no. Some are
Okay.
more aware than others.
Okay.
Some really believe all their own lies. It's like complete confabulation.
Okay.
Yeah, but some don't. And they're all different. They're not all the same, but to some degree or not, they don't. They believe their own lies.
So if they believe their own lies, it's like it really would take really, really good discernment for you to determine that the person you're dealing with is being narcissistic.
Well, yeah, and that's why when you have people like myself, I've had friends get very frustrated with me and say, "What are you doing?" But I can't see it when I'm in it because you've got your emotions involved. You've got a trauma bond, which is literally you can look at someone's brain, and a trauma bond is just as bad as a heroin addiction.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then you've got this.
What's a trauma bond?
So a trauma bond is what happens in a narcissistic and codependent relationship and with someone with an abusive psychological abuse or emotional abuse they use. And, they flood you with dopamine and oxytocin with love bombing, right? And you just feel like amazing. You think, wow, I am special. They love me so much. They came in like Captain Save-A-Ho, and I am like, wow, just flooded with all these compliments, showered with gifts, and you feel so special. And it is like a high. This, like taking heroin for the first time, is such a high that literally what they say is the rest of the time you're addicted to heroin, you're still trying to chase that first high. It will never quite be like that again. So it's the same for a trauma bond. You are then, after they get you kind of up on this pedestal, then they kind of tear you down, and they start taking jabs, and they start kind of making little jokes. But
you're hooked
and you're
now.
devalued, but you're hooked.
Yeah.
So then they come in.
So you keep like looking for that validation, and you keep wanting the.
Yes, because now you're flooded with cortisol, and you're stressed, and you don't know, like they're distancing themselves from you, they're devaluing you, and you're thinking, what happened? And you're stressed, and now you're cortisol. So then they come in, they breadcrumb you, and they bring a little more of the dopamine and the oxytocin rush, and then you're like, oh, I got a little bit of that high again, and then they take it away from you again. So you're on this like back and forth, and you get stuck in it, searching for that high again. And what happens is they're the only person that can give you that high again, and that's how you become addicted to them. They're the only person that can provide that high.
Oh, it's a trap.
It's a trap, and it's really, really hard to break out of. So I can come from a place of empathy when people are trying to get out of it, instead of girls who are like, well, just leave him or just stop. It's just not that easy,
So, yeah, that's where I would go next is, and I feel like, yeah, like, you're right. Like, when you're in it and you're in love with this person, and because they made you feel so good, it's difficult to be like, wait, like, this is all not real.
It's hard because you're getting flooded with compliments. It feels so good. And then if you're someone like me who has this vacuum inside of me for love and attention and affection and connection that I didn't get as a child, I am the perfect person for a narcissist, because I'm like, oh, it's everything I ever wanted. And then it takes me becoming healthy to know this isn't healthy, though. This isn't real love. This isn't real connection. This is actually, whether they know it or not, a form of manipulation. And yeah, some of them think they're doing nice things for you, and they said, well, look what I've done for you. And I know, and I get it. And there are parts of them that are just human, like even like the last one that I love, and so there's a lot of good there. And yeah, they're operating from the driver's seat of their subconscious that is still, they don't feel they're worthy of love. They don't feel they can get someone to love them for who they are. That's why they manipulate. That's why they love bomb. That's why they use these things like gaslighting and breadcrumbing. They don't feel worthy of just completely being seen, taking off all the masks, being who they are, that you will just love them fully
as
that way, as themselves, unconditionally. They don't believe that's true, so they have to use these techniques. Yeah.
So how do you make your exit? If someone is stuck in a relationship?
Oh, it's so hard.
How do you
I think for me, I started Googling, like,
am I in a narcissistic relationship?
Yeah, I was like, what is going
As
on
if
here?
dating isn't stressful enough already.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, now you got to figure this out.
Now I'm sitting here going, why do I feel so confused? I don't know what's left or right. I don't know what's up or down. I'm a shell of myself. I don't even want to do my job anymore on Instagram. I can't be, because I developed an anxiety disorder and panic attacks every day. I didn't, honestly, I just started to know where's the sun and the moon and they make you become the shell of yourself. You second guess everything about yourself. You don't trust yourself. Therefore, you need them because you don't even trust yourself anymore. So you need them to make decisions. You need them for your source of love, for direction, for control. You almost look to them to control you because you don't feel you have any control over yourself anymore. So you're Googling and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? Who have I become? And when all that stuff starts coming up, a narcissistic codependent relationship, and you start reading it and you say, whoa, this is exactly what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Wild,
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, but I would say even then I still took a long time to break free from this because
even though you knew it was wrong.
Yeah, it's diabolical. And their tentacles are in every aspect of my life, which they don't know they're doing this. Sometimes they do.
Do you think yours did?
I still go back and forth on it. I still go back and forth.
Willingly.
Did he really think that he truly loves me and I'm his soulmate and do these things because he just loves me? Or sometimes I think he's really stupid. And then sometimes I'm like, wait, he'll say things or do things where I'm like, no, he's actually he's sharp. Like he'll just say something that I'm like, oh, no, he's smart. So he gets it. So then I'm like, wait, so does he get it? I believe they do know what they're doing to a certain point, but here's what they do. So they don't just gaslight us. They gaslight themselves. It's true.
How? Give me an example.
So he will convince himself. It's called confabulation.
Okay.
So they believe their own lies. So he will feel kind of bad when I call him out on something and say, you just did this, you twisted this, you gaslighted me, you manipulated me, you did this to get me to do this.
Yeah.
And he'll know, Lyndi, that was all love. I did this for us, for you, for our future. And he believes it. So even when he kind of goes, oh, yeah, I did do that, he gaslights me, but he gaslights himself, and then they believe their own lies because they say
So
it
he
again
like
and again.
rationalizes everything that he's doing.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you decided to break up with him, how do you find strength to stay away?
It was really hard.
Especially, like you said, if you're dependent on them for whatever reasons, love, support, family, finances, a social circle maybe. Like, I don't...
Yeah, he was involved in every aspect of my life at this point. And so it was really, really, really hard. And that's when I turned my life over to God. And I said, I need help. Like, I know I can't get out of this by myself. I'm going to need you. And it still took a while because I had been so sick that I really hadn't worked in 2 years.
Okay.
So I was completely reliant on him. And that was really, really hard. But one night when we had something really horrific happened with him, I ran with the clothes on my back. I took the car, left, and I went to a Hampton Inn off the 5 freeway. And, and I slept there, and I said, I'm never going back. And a friend of mine, I went to a Jason Aldean concert, I think the next day or something. I had already had those plans. And a friend of mine that I was there with said, well, don't stay at a Hampton Inn. Like, come stay with me. And so I did. I stayed in her daughter's bedroom for a little bit. And then I went to my ex-husband's even, which was nice. Stayed with him for a little bit until I was able to get into a place because he had ruined my credit and financials. So it was really, really hard. I ended up having to have his mom help me sign on to something. And then I was in that, but then I still was so connected, and that way he got intertwined in my life again. So then I finally had to even break free and move from that and get my kids and I into my own place. Finally was able to do it. And I'm in there now, and I had to disconnect every tie. I even thought we could be friends, and I just don't think you can. I want to be.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely care, and, it's hard for me to just have people leave my life. But, I had to, you really have to cut all of it. And anyone will tell you need to go direct, no contact with someone like that. But of course, again, in Lyndi fashion, I thought, no, I'm different. I could still be friends with him. And every time I try, it ends up, we end up in the same place. So direct, no contact is truly the way to go. But
so apathy and love bombing.
Yeah, just a complete lack of empathy. Like, they are not capable of feeling for you at all.
At all.
No. And they have no remorse. If they say they're sorry, they're really not. It's the only time they ever apologize is when they need to for manipulation. They're never truly, really sorry. They have a way of making it your fault for anything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think women can do this too? Women can be narcissists too?
Yeah, in fact, it's really interesting. So it was predominantly a male, personality disorder. There's a lot of women with borderline personality disorder. But interestingly enough, I think it has a lot to do with social media and just the times we're living in. But the female ratio of narcissists in America is rapidly growing.
Shooting up? Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it has a lot to do with social media. And then I also think that a lot of women are stepping into a masculine role with, dual income, keeping up here in America. So, and I just think, to be honest, I think it's spiritual warfare. So I think that
Talk about that.
So I think that narcissism is really a spiritual battle that we don't realize. And I think that we have a lot of trauma in our childhoods, the infrastructure of how our 9-to-5 income and parents rushing around and all the sports and we're not being raised the way we were really intended to be raised in villages with walks of life pouring love into you and a mother at home. And the statistics on even a mother just being at home when children are being raised, even if they're in a different room, they don't even have to be on their hands and knees playing and doing a puzzle with them. Just knowing they're there in the house. Statistically, the way children end up on, doing drugs or falling into the wrong crowd, ending up in jail, is drastic. So I feel that God really had intentions for the nuclear family that's very different from how we're being raised. Social media, television, music, and kids.
Divorce rate.
Yeah, and they're turning very narcissistic because there's just so many fractures in our minds growing up, and that's how the enemy gets a foothold in there. And it's based in shame. And so, children, they're supposed to co-regulate with their parents. And when their parents aren't co-regulating with them, they don't know how to regulate their nervous system. It's all co-regulation when they're growing up. And if their parents aren't there, and there isn't oxytocin to bond, that's the bonding chemical in our brain. And if they're not there, they're in daycare and their parents are off working and then feeding them dinner. And this is no disrespect to any stay-at-home parent. I know that sometimes we have to do what we have to do.
Right.
I have a lot of guilt over being on my phone too much because that's how I make my money. And I'll look over and I'll be like, Lyndi, get off your phone and spend some time. Your son sees you being like, I don't want him to remember that. It's like, put your phone down. So, but that's our culture. We're in hustle culture. Everyone's like side hustle, this, that, another stream of income. And the children are suffering, and that's why they're becoming narcissistic. And then you add that layer of they can get on TikTok and they can get on Instagram and they can get like after like after like. There's a little a comment, you're beautiful, new followers, and every single time you get that, you get a little dopamine hit. So, yeah.
Interesting. So you said you were ill when you left him. 13 illnesses?
Yeah, so...
Tell me
I have POTS, fibromyalgia, celiac. They thought I had lupus, but I don't. The markers. What else? I'm missing one, though.
Do you think this is all from stress, from dealing with
So I will die on this hill. It's toxins and trauma. The combination of that, I believe, is autoimmune. So when you take that high stress, high cortisol, I was living with high cortisol for decades, honestly. And then with this last relationship for 4 years, it was like, it's like my body thinks a bear is chasing it in the woods 24 hours a day.
You're like fight or flight.
Yeah, so your cortisol is spiked constantly. You're not meant to live like that. It's literally for dire situations. So sadly, if you live in that at all times, your body starts to break down. And then you add, I'm in the beauty world and this and that, and I've got everything from implants to toxic skincare and beauty products. And I used to do those chemical straightening treatments on my hair, which is all formaldehyde,
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, and then, I'm wearing perfume and I'm lighting scented beautiful candles in I used to be every day light candles because it just made me happy. I don't light scented candles anymore. So you've got all these toxins and in the environment, and then you've got a toxic lifestyle, and you've got trauma and stress, and your body. What you don't express emotionally and what you hold down. So I held everything in since childhood. I was never taught to process any of this. So all the way through childhood, and then these 3 relationships that were just hard on me, I stuffed it all down, smiled, and moved on to the next, and thought, if I forget about it, it'll go away. But what the secrets that you're keeping are keeping you sick, is what I like to say. And so, they you don't get to just put them to rest. They manifest physically if you don't take care of it.
So you think it all came to a head when you were
definitely
in relationship with him, and all the diseases just
it was so highly chaotic. My life was chaotic every day with him. Every day there was chaos, and I almost would walk on eggshells wondering when the next chaotic outburst was going to be. So I'm always living in high alert. I mean, I remember being with girlfriends and saying, like, do you want to just have like one more drink? Like, I didn't want to go home, or like pulling up and sitting in my car for like an hour.
Really?
Yeah, hoping he'd be asleep, because I knew I'd walk into him being drunk every night. And I would hope he'd be asleep and I could tiptoe in and just go to sleep and avoid maybe like a big fight or something. Yeah. So I knew it was time.
Yeah,
to get
I
out of
feel
that.
like if you're
there,
it's probably
time. It's probably time to go.
So how do you begin to heal? How do you how do you know what's wrong and start your healing journey?
That's what's hard. It's because I was sick emotionally, physically, and mentally. So where do I even begin, right? And so definitely my walk with the Lord was huge. And every time I read the scriptures, every time I prayed, I definitely felt a bit of a healing and having that foundation. But then it's a daily sanctification process. So there's times where I fall or where I still would get sad and, experience pain. And so I had to keep coming back to that. And also I went to every doctor, probably went to 40, 45 doctors, and they all had something different to say, and it was very confusing. You have to become your own health advocate. So I started to just research, and I would dig, and I'd listen to podcasts and read a book and Google this and research this and listen to girls who kind of had similar experiences and test different things. I truly feel, after spending my life savings, everything I had, on everything from IV treatments to chelation, and I did everything from ozone therapy to acupuncture, red light beds, and hyperbaric chambers. I've done energy. I've done everything.
Wow.
And I will say, after even spending everything, some of the things that helped me the most were inexpensive or free.
Really?
Yeah.
Such as?
A relationship with Jesus Christ and reading the Bible. If you don't have one, I can send anyone one. Just email me. Off Amazon. But also fasting. Fasting absolutely helped me heal.
God, I cannot fast. At least
It's
not long
hard.
enough. People do it for days.
Yeah, I would say if you can do it for at least 24 hours, but when you hit the 72-hour mark, that's absolutely cured me, and it's free $99.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just water?
Well, I'll drink lemon water, cayenne
lemon.
pepper, and lemon water.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, that's it
Really?
for 24 to 72 hours.
And you just needed to like cleanse your soul from like
Your
the
body's-
stress of the relationship.
Yeah. So there's a spiritual aspect to fasting. You die to your flesh,
Yeah.
and you take all your your flesh's cravings and everything, and you
Yeah.
die to them, and you feed yourself spiritually. So you grow closer to God when you fast. And then so there's also the physical aspect. And I believe God gave us everything we need to heal our bodies here, whether it's an herb or plant or a way like fasting. Like He created all this for us. We don't need all these pills that are based in crude oils and petroleum and all that junk. But on the third day, autophagy, what it does is it literally gets your body to eat heavy metals, cancer cells.
Cancer cells,
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, heavy metals, cancer, toxins, dead cells, the cell turnover to completely like a new body.
Yeah.
And the Bible even talks about it. It says on the third day, your temple, He will break it down and make a new one. He's not talking about a physical temple. He's talking about your body.
Fasting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there's both a physical and spiritual healing too.
Yeah.
And actually mental. So it will also give you clarity in your brain. It will give you sharper brain focus too. So, fasting is literally, it is a godsend. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's not easy to do, I know, but man,
It's not
once you
easy.
see the results of it, you kind of get a little addicted to it.
Well, for health reasons too.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's wanting to leave a bad relationship?
Yeah, it's really hard. Give yourself grace. Give yourself a lot of grace, because some people can maybe just say, okay, this isn't healthy, I'm leaving. But so a lot of narcissists actually consider you their property.
Oh.
Once they've groomed you, you kind of become their plaything.
Okay.
So they don't let you go. Even if they have a new person that they're grooming and love bombing, even if they have a new girlfriend, a new wife, whatever, they'll always kind of come back because they always want to make sure they own you a little bit. So they'll hoover.
Feel the waters out a little bit.
Yeah, and they'll always kind of want to keep you in check, and they want to keep you in their little on their roster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so it's really hard, but the best advice I would give at first is to understand and educate yourself on narcissistic personality disorder and codependency, because if you're with one, the chances are is you suffer from some degree of codependency. So what you need to do is you need to heal that. And codependency is really rooted also in, not a lot of self-love and looking on the outside of you for validation, external validation, like they validate me. Whereas narcissists are always looking on the inside. They want someone to validate, give them more validity. They're all about them. Codependents are all about the other person. That's why they fit together, like a hand and glove. So what you need to do is you can't fix them. You cannot. You can't heal them. You can't fix them. As much as I am the person that thinks, oh, I can fix them, I can heal them, No, you can't. No one can. Everyone has to heal themselves. The best thing you can do is heal yourself. You need to heal whatever causes you to have some codependency, whatever causes you to have that hole in your heart that you're seeking other people to fill. Mm-hmm. You can seek your perfect Father in heaven to heal that. You can understand what trauma has caused you to feel this way, mm-hmm. and really start to heal and look at that. And once you heal, you almost aren't even attracted to it anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boom. That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about skincare and supplements.
Yeah.
You're beautiful, gorgeous.
Thank you. You're so sweet. You are. I'm like, no, you're beautiful. I wish I could wear my hair in a slick back bun, but I feel like
the hair is not.
Doesn't look good on me. I feel like, but.
Yeah. What do you take? What do you use? Talk to us about your beauty.
Okay, so one of the things I realized made me sick was, the skincare beauty industry, the makeup, the perfumes, the skincare, the hair products, the body, products. Your skin, people don't realize this, and I did not used to realize this, but your hormones are your powerhouse for vitality.
Yes.
Your hormones, you do not realize, your hormones are everything. Mm-hmm. That is where you get your whole entire vitality and your health from. They are your powerhouse. When you have unbalanced hormones, mm-hmm. You are a wreck, and I was. So I have Hashimoto's. That's one of the things I have. And you're rubbing the skincare that has, you do too?
Hi.
We all, yeah. Well, and I'll tell you why.
I don't think I have Hashimoto's, but my hormones are definitely.
It's thyroidism, really, and we all kind of, the world we're living in today promotes, it really, it's, a lot of women have it because mm-hmm. of it, and men, they're, in a different way, their hormones are out of balance too. Mm-hmm. And basically, if you think about the skincare you're using and the body products you're using, and you're rubbing them on your skin mm-hmm. and right on your thyroid, you're pulling it all down mm-hmm. here, and then all of your entire body. Your body is your largest organ. It is your largest detox organ, and it is an endocrine organ. Mm. People don't talk about that. And you've got people selling skincare and makeup that don't understand this. Mm-hmm. They just are telling you, oh, be pretty, and they're making money off of that. Mm-hmm. But what they don't understand is your entire body system and your hormones and your detox organs are all coming into play when you discuss skincare and beauty products. So you're putting things all over your body, you're putting them in all your lymph nodes, you're putting them on your thyroid, you're putting them on your skin, and it's all absorbing into your bloodstream.
Right in.
Right into your bloodstream.
There's been a huge green
movement,
skincare movement lately. Mm-hmm. I feel like everyone's.
There really has, because I think we're all finally sick of being sick. To be honest, I've never received so much. So many people responding to me and DMing me. I can't keep up. It's hundreds of people writing this and saying, "Oh my gosh, I feel sick too. What is it that's causing? I feel like this too. I have all those same symptoms." All of us women are sick, and we're having autoimmune disease, mm-hmm. and we have adrenal fatigue, and we have unbalanced hormones, and we have, we're all tired, and we have brain fog and low energy, and our joints hurt. Well, why? Mm-hmm. We shouldn't be feeling this way. Or their periods are off. Mm-hmm. And their skin is, messed up, and they're not looking at the root cause. And it all starts in your gut, too, right? So you can literally take your finger and you can trace it along your skin, and you can take it, put it in your mouth, down your tongue, down your throat, and right into your gut. Mm-hmm. So it's that easy. So, we all have guts that are messed up because we're all eating diets full of glyphosates and seed oils. Mm-hmm. And then we have, and then we have all these beauty products we're just drenching our skin in that are full of refined oils. The products I sell have, they're unrefined, so it's all organic and holistic. There's a really clean beauty movement happening in our makeup and our skincare, mm-hmm. because I think all of us girls are tired of feeling sick at the cost of what? Being pretty? Yeah. I'm here to tell you, I can be vain for sure, so I'm not knocking anyone else, and I'm trying. I'm trying to schedule an explant surgery, and save up for that. I have switched all of my skincare over to completely holistic skincare. I used to use all the, expensive good stuff. You
use olive.
I use Oliveda now.
Oliveda now.
Only. Yeah, it's all.
And you love it?
I love it.
It is.
it is life changing. It has completely changed my skin and my gut. So I use their internals also, and it's helped a lot with my immune system and my gut.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it like essential oils or like what's?
So it's all based with hydroxytyrosol, and that is a powerful antioxidant that comes from the crushed olive leaves from these mountain olive trees in Spain. And this man that founded the company, Thomas, he was really sick, and he doesn't like to talk about exactly what it was. It's a lot of autoimmune disease, which is all inflammation, right?
Yeah.
So he swears that these olive leaf trees, the hydroxytyrosol, cured him. The inflammatory response on them was it's a powerful antioxidant, and it cured him. He's saying so. He started this beauty line with it, and it's changing people's skin. And a lot of products will take months to show a difference. What is so cool is that people are seeing a change in their skin with only one use. Their skin is glowing. It's that good.
Interesting. I gotta try that.
So good.
I saw you post it.
Yeah, I love it.
Really?
And you know what else is cool is I'm in this community of women that it's brought me into that are just, a lot of them are Christians, and a lot of them are just lovely women that are kind and cheering each other on. And you don't always find that in relationships with women. So it's, for me, really brought like a lot of goodness into my life. And they're launching beauty. They're launching makeup, clean makeup.
Oh, interesting.
So all their products, the skincare line, are all based with hydroxytyrosol, this powerful antioxidant, instead of water. So most skincare is 70% water. A lot of them are 95% water and refined oils and fillers, and then they get to the active ingredients, 5%. So you're paying 100, 150, 195, 200 for 95% water, fillers,
for a jar of water
and oils. Okay. With ours, there's none. No fillers, no water, no refined oils. And it's all holistic, homeopathic, clean ingredients that are based in hydroxytyrosol. So where there would normally be water, so ours are like 10 times more potent because you're getting all these benefits of the antioxidants instead of any water or fillers. And now the makeup they're creating is all going to be based with hydroxytyrosol too. So it's healing makeup that's going to be just life-changing for people's skin. My skin does not like makeup, so I don't wear it unless I'm doing something like this. And so this makeup's going to be like makeup that's actually healing and changing your skin while you're wearing it. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be really great. Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm gonna try it.
you have to try it.
Any supplements that are like a must?
So that's another thing that I stopped. When I got really sick, I had to figure out what was going on with me, and a lot of these doctors didn't even know, and it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
So I basically did the whole clean everything out, stop everything. I stopped everything I would take, and I fasted, and I cleaned out my body, and then I started from scratch. And I would research different things of what I would take and what I wouldn't. And it's one of the reasons why I like these patches that I sell. I talk about them on my Instagram too.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them.
It's completely homeopathic. It's non-transdermal, so you're not getting any chemicals, crude oils, and things like that in your body. Or even like some companies, the plastics that are... some of them are not the capsule. You know, microplastics are another reason why a lot of people get Hashimoto's that disrupt your hormones. So microplastics are huge for disrupting your hormones too. It's really sad. Phthalates, microplastics, you know, all the endocrine disruptors, PFAS.
So bad. What are these patches?
So the patches, you're not putting anything in your body. It's kind of like Chinese medicine. They go on your meridian points, and they basically encourage your body to stimulate its own glutathione, to stimulate your body to regenerate its stem cells. You know, they have one that I love that regulates your nervous system and calms your brain and your vagus nerve. So, yeah. It's using your own... They have a melatonin one that, instead of taking some synthetic form of melatonin, which is bad for your hormones also, it encourages your body to make its own melatonin.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then I take chalk, which is a shilajit and ashwagandha.
Is that how you say it? Shilajit?
Shilajit. But I feel like I'm saying bad words. I think I call it shilajit.
Shilajit.
Yeah, so...
I've been I actually was looking it up the other day, and there's so many companies that sell it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what it
does. Dr.
does.
Huberman endorsed it, which to me, I'm like, anything he endorses, okay. So he's, to me...
It's a bunch of different minerals all in one, thing,
So you're
right?
getting... So when you have gut issues like I did, and I had celiac, and I had a leaky gut, and basically you got all these poking holes in your gut, basically, right? So all your nutrients and your minerals are are leaking into your bloodstream. You're not
Right.
getting proper nutrition. So you have malnutrition a lot of times when you have gut problems, which most of us do, because everything we're eating has glyphosate in it, everything. And what people don't understand is that the glyphosates, they don't just kind of like make the bugs not want to get on the plants when they spray it all over everything we're eating. And I love berries, and berries are just like soaked with like glyphosate. It's just like, it's worse than what they're spraying on the plants, they're saying. So stop eating those. But what they do is they destroy the bug stomach. This bug stomach literally explodes.
Oh.
Yeah. So then we're eating that, and it's destroying all of our guts.
Yeah.
So you have malnutrition, and so we're eating, and I used to eat oatmeal every day. Oats are soaked in glyphosates, and our stomachs are just being destroyed left and right. Everything at Starbucks has glyphosates in it. It's like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Starbucks culture that we live in and everything.
The coffee, you mean, like
their coffee, their
beans.
food, all the products there, they're all covered in the glyphosates. Yeah, yeah. Oat milk, oatmeal. What else? All the berries, all the food, everything at Starbucks. Yeah.
So you said Shilajit. What was the other one?
So it's ashwagandha, shilajit, and a list of that it's just really gets your body all natural, remineralizes your body, which it really needs for your hair, your eyes, your skin, your bones, your hormones. It just regulates it all and replenishes all of that in a natural way. Yeah, so.
Nice.
So I really like, those are the only things I take. I stopped with everything else, yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So does Dr. Huberman have his own?
No, actually, he promotes the brand I work with, which is why I worked with him.
Oh.
Chalk, yeah, because he talks all about it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that too.
Yeah,
and the patches.
Yeah.
And the patches, yeah.
I'll get you all set up, girlfriend.
Lyndi, thank you.
You're welcome.
So much. Tell everybody how everyone can find you.
Okay. Wait, I feel like you had one more question that you were doing. It was like,
I think I.
Oh, you were. I know what it was. You were like, what's You said, how do you not care are you okay with what people think of you? And I was like, that's a good question.
I did, because I see some comments on your Instagram, girl, and I'm like, okay, how does she handle it?
I have
the criticism, the opinions, the backlash.
When I first started talking out and speaking out, I think it came from a really naive place. I didn't realize that the world was so polarized and that people could be so mean, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so it used to hurt. It did. And it would hurt my feelings and it would kind of bum me out. But then I realized, because I like to research things, that the only people that write mean comments and DMs to other people on social media are very unhappy people. The only people that say mean things to someone in person and treats them horribly is someone that's not happy. And so I can tell you on my children's lives, I have never, ever written a mean comment or DM to anybody in my entire life. Not even from a Finsta. So I would never and have never, even if I don't agree with them or don't like what they're doing, my opinion, I keep it to myself, and I don't do that. Why? Because I know better, and I'm a happy person, and I don't go bleed all over other people. I heal myself.
Right.
So what they're doing is they're just bleeding all over everyone else because, they think that if they share some of their blood onto other people, that then it'll make them feel better. But what they don't understand is it doesn't. It actually makes them feel worse. So I've learned to have sympathy for people. When they're mean to me, I feel bad for them. I have compassion for them because I think you must be so unhappy to talk to other people that way. So that's been, a huge thing for me, is learning. Now I just turn it around and I say I feel bad for them, because a happy person doesn't do that. Watch people in your life. Watch really happy people that are fulfilled and productive and have purpose in their life, that have joy. Watch them. They don't behave like that.
Yeah.
And I want to be like those people.
Yeah.
Not the angry trolls, because they're sad people. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So the other
100%.
thing is, honestly, if you didn't used to like who I was, if I didn't used to like who I was, do you know what one of the best things about walking with Jesus is?
What?
The old man is dead, and I am a new creation in Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So if you didn't like me, I'm sorry, I repent. If I didn't like some things about me, I am a new creation in Jesus Christ. I am not my pain. I am not my trauma. I am not my guilt. I am not my shame. I am not my sin. no more. That has all died on the cross with him and laid in the tomb with him, and I have risen with him when he's resurrected as a new creation in him. So it's like a new identity that he gives you and a new purpose in life. And who the Son sets free is free indeed.
And the trolls don't matter.
They don't matter anymore.
Amen.
God bless them. You know?
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you, babe. Thank you for coming.
You're so welcome.
And what's your, tell me the Instagram.
So right now I just have an Instagram that's Lyndi Kennedy, my name.
Okay.
And then...
Can everyone find your products and everything?
Yeah, so if you go over there, follow me. I would say that my stories are a lot better of a fun time than my page. I just have a lot of fun on my stories with my little village on there. I've had thousands of people show up there with me for years now, which has been, I feel like those are my tribe. That's my people. Yeah. And it's wild because...
I feel like that's how I met you too.
Yeah, we started talking on my stories, and that's where the party's at. It's fun. I really just kind of let it all hang out. I'm just me on there, you know, and I just kind of talk with people. The weirdest thing is that I get a little nervous talking on my page, but I don't on my stories as much, and I don't know what that is. There's like the safety net there. So that's where the fun's at. I love it over there, and the people that join me there daily, you know, for years now, it's kind of like, wow, how cool that they still, you know, join me over here.
You're going to have to come back. We have
more to talk about.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of want to interview you. Like you came from,
really?
or we should be on my podcast or just come back and I interview you on your own podcast because
the Russia thing.
Coming over from Russia and boarding school and like, yeah. So.
Okay, we'll do it.
We're switching roles on the next one. I'm going to interview you.
Okay, sounds good.